What's up, everyone? It's Bones here. As we continue to wait for the structure deck, I wanted to revisit it one more time to cover some of the ground that I didn't get to in my last video. As the title of the video says, I'll be showcasing how we can play and deck build around playing through disruptions, as I start by showing some options that we have, and then I'll proceed to show some examples of how we can combat getting hand trapped at important spots. I would also like to mention that I will be showing some OCG cards that we will be getting 1 month after the structure deck releases, since we really have nothing else until then. And because it's such a short time frame, I do want to get you guys prepared for that. But before any of that, if you're a fan of in-depth combo videos, new set coverage, and occasional fun stuff that we like to do on the channel, such as quarterly tier lists and things of that nature, then summon out your Red Dragon Archfiend and paint those thumbs up and subscribe buttons in crimson by clicking on them until they're beaten, battered, and bloodied like those who oppose the Crimson King. Now, the first card that we have here, and this is an option that you can also use in the TCG, Soup allows you to get a Crimson Resonator or another Resonator to the graveyard, as we'll be able to also special summon it. If you have 5-6 cards in your hand, you're just starting the game, then this is an excellent play to play around hand traps, as it does bait a potential Ash when your opponent sees the Resonator in the graveyard, as the Soup will also get you into the Red Rising Dragon, and this is also really cool because you don't play into Droll this way, which is another issue that the deck can have when you don't happen to have the Soup. So we'll bring back the Crimson, use the effect of the Crimson, and I'm just going to finish the combo here, as we're going to use the effect of the Soul Resonator. We'll get ourselves the Bone, we can normal summon the Bone, use its effect in order to send off the Vision, as we'll target the Soul, turn the Soul to level 4, as we'll then be able to get the Crimson Gaia, activate the Crimson Gaia, get ourselves the Red Zone off of it, and then we'll be able to go into our Scar, we'll go into our Hot Red, use the effect of the Scar to get back another body along with the Vision off of the Synchron, as we'll then get the OG Red Dragon Archfiend, we'll then go into the Bane, special summon out the Vision, go into the Void Ogre. I would like to keep in mind that if you don't get the Vision Resonator and choose to get the Soul Resonator, then you aren't going into the Void Ogre Dragon. I just show this approach because if you are playing into stuff, then you may want that spell Trap Negate, and this is a way that you can get into it. Otherwise, you're not really going to want to use the Bane in order to tribute itself off for the Red Dragon Archfiend, when you can just tribute off the Resonator or anything else that you would get to keep in the scenario that you don't go for the Void Ogre Dragon. Now, we will be able to set the Red Zone, which does give us the Red Zone live on our opponent's turn, with the 2 spell and trap negates that we get off of Hot Red and the Void Ogre. Now, for this next combo, we have the Diabellstar stuff, and I will show 2 options that we have with this, as the first one is a very minimal one. This is a level 7 that reads, you can special summon this card from your hand by sending one other card from your hand or field to the graveyard. So similar to Soup, you can kind of see the point. It's a body that you special summon, and you send a Resonator to the graveyard this way, which makes the Resonators really important to this strategy moving forward, but you can only special summon one Diabellstar, the Dark Witch, once per turn this way, and you can only use each of the following effects of her once per turn. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can set one Sinful Spoil spell trap directly from your deck. If this card is sent from the hand or field to the graveyard during your opponent's turn, you can send one card from your hand or field to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon this card. So we're going to do just that, as we're going to be able to send off the Vision Resonator. We'll be able to chain block the Vision Resonator, which is what I really wanted to show here, as this is pretty big, as we also get into a disruption off of the Sinful Spoils trap, and this one allows us to send one Diabellstar monster from our hand or face-up field to the graveyard, then target one face-up card on the field, negate its effects. When your opponent activates a card or effect in response to the activation of your Diabellstar monster's effects or Sinful Spoil spell trap card or effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard, negate that opponent's effect. You can only use one effect of Betrayal once per turn, and only once that turn. So the one downside to this version of the combo is that we do have to keep the Diabellstar in the field, so it means that we can't use our Crimson Resonator, which won't allow us to make our full board. That said, we are still able to end on a spell and trap negate, assuming you don't have anything else in hand, as we are going to change the level of the Soul Resonator to level 2 so that we can go into the Red Rising, bring back the Crimson. Again, we had already used the Vision this turn, so we wouldn't get the search for a Crimson card, which is why we're doing this. And now I'll take you on to the next option where you actually play the Snake Eyes stuff, and I do want to talk a little bit more about that as well in that combo. So for this third combo, we'll be starting with Dark Witch along with the Vision. We'll use its effect in order to get our chain blocks, and we'll now get the Sinful Spoil spell, as we'll also get ourselves the Crimson Gaia. The spell reads, you can send one other face-up card you control to the graveyard, special summon one level 1 fire monster from your hand or deck. Now, the part where you get the synergy with the Red Dragon Archfiend stuff in this deck is that you get to send the Diabellstar to the graveyard, which means that you don't have that extra monster for when you go into Red Rising to bring back the Crimson Gaia or the Crimson Resonator. But there's also something else that you get, as I'll go over momentarily, as we're going to activate the Sinful Spoil Snake Eye, and you can banish this card from your graveyard. I didn't get to read this, but then you can target one Snake Eye or Diabellstar monster in your graveyard, add one level 1 fire monster from your deck to your hand, then place the targeted monster on the bottom of the deck. You can only use the original Sinful Spoil Snake Eye once per turn, and only once that turn. So we'll also see a new card here, the level 1 Snake Eye XL, and this is a level 1 fire. It reads, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can add one level 1 fire monster from your deck to your hand. You can send one card and one other face-up card you control to the graveyard, special summon one Snake Eye monster from your hand or deck, except XL. You can only use each effect of XL once per turn. So we're going to then get its effect here to search, as we're going to get ourselves an end board card this time around. This is Sinful Eye Birch, and it reads, if you control a fire monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon Birch once per turn this way. During your opponent's turn, and this is why it's an end board card, quick effect, you can send this card and one face-up card you control to the graveyard, special summon one Snake Eye monster from your hand or deck, except White Birch. You can only use this effect of White Birch once per turn. Now, the other Snake Eyes, as you see here, are not quick effects in order to send the other card along with itself in order to special summon the Snake Eyes, and I do want to get into more detail as we continue our turn here. We'll use the effect of the Crimson Gaia, get ourselves the search for the Soul Resonator. I'll mention the Crimson Gaia or the level 1, the White Birch stuff later on, but use the effect of the Bone Archfiend, which means we can send the level 1 to the graveyard, and this allows us to get into the Red Rising. As we do send the Crimson, we'll then be able to go into our Red Rising, use its effect in order to bring back the Crimson. We can then use the Crimson, get our combos going, as we'll special summon out the Soul along with the Synchron, and then we can go into our Scar. We'll go into our, as we'll bring out the Synchron Resonator along with the OG Red Dragon Archfiend off of the Scar, as we're then going to get back the Vision Resonator, go into our Bane. We'll then special summon out the level 1, as we're going to use the effect of Bane to get back one of the Red Dragon Archfiends, and then you can end your board on this, as we're now going to go onto our opponent's turn. Now, I do want to point out, if you choose this approach to build a deck, which I don't think is the correct thing to do because of the space, and because of some of the conflictions with other stuff, what you want to do here is, on the end phase of your opponent's turn, meaning that this card has to survive until the end phase, otherwise the real strong part of this won't work. But the point is that you're going to send the Red Dragon Archfiend along with itself in order to special summon out the Snake Eyes Flameburst Dragon, and it reads, you can target one monster in the graveyard or face-up field, place it face-up on the owner's spell and trap zone as a continuous spell. During your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can target one monster card on the field, treated as a continuous spell, special summon into your field. So this is a card that was really close to being crazy. If it was able to steal an opponent's monster during your opponent's turn, it would be a disruption, but this is why you have to wait until the end phase. And if this card is sent from the hand or field to the graveyard, you can special summon 2 level 1 fire monsters from your graveyard. You can only use each effect of Flameburst Dragon once per turn. And again, we'll be able to end our turn on this, but it's just something that I wanted to show since we are getting new cards, and I want to be as detailed as I can to show the different options that you have or whatever you want to choose. Now, the next one is the Horus cards. This is another set of cards coming in the October set. As it reads, if you control Pharaonic Sarcophagus, you can special summon this card from your graveyard. So that alone is a level 8 that you can special summon and potentially just get a free Synchro 10 with your resonators. You can only special summon MSD once per turn this way. You can use each of the following effects of MSD once per turn. You can send 2 cards from your hand to the graveyard, including this card, add 1 Pharaonic Sarcophagus from your deck to your hand, then you can draw 1 card. If another card you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect while you control this monster, you can send 1 card on the field to the graveyard. So we're now going to continue our turn by activating the Crimson Gaia, and then we'll be able to net ourselves a search for the Soul Resonator, normal summon the Soul, and now we can search ourselves the Bone Archfiend, which we'll be able to pitch off of the MSD, which will get us the Pharaonic Sarcophagus, along with a draw, as we'll then be able to use the Bone, special summon it out, as we'll then be able to get its other effect in order to send the Crimson, turn the Soul Resonator to level 2 so that we can go into the Red Rising, use the Red Rising to bring back the Crimson, use the effect of the Crimson in order to get ourselves 2 special summons, as we'll get the Vision and the Synchron, as we'll then go into the Scar, use the effect of Vision to get ourselves the Red Zone, go into the Hot Red, as we'll use the effect of Synchron along with the Scar, get back the Vision, as we'll then be able to go into our Bane, we'll then activate the Pharaonic Sarcophagus, get back the MSD. I do want to keep in mind that in most scenarios you are going to tribute off the Resonator here, because you wouldn't do this next play if there weren't a banished card, but we're going to go into our disc pattern just to show that it is an option that you have, but again, just not something that you have to do. So now I want to show one hand that plays around Droll, and it's not really one hand. I want to show what Supe does for the deck in regards to playing around Droll so that you can see it with your own eyes. And we're going to start here by activating the Crimson Gaia, and we'll then search ourselves the Vision Resonator. Now, in normal cases, without the Supe, this would shut down our hand, but because we have the Supe, we can just pitch the Crimson Resonator, and it does mean that you do have to have the Crimson Resonator, which is fine because it's at 3, you can play it at 3 if you want to. And we'll then be able to special summon out the Supe, and now we can go into our Red Rising Dragon, use its effect in order to get back the Crimson Resonator. Of course, if your opponent has another hand trap with this specific hand, it may hurt. That said, you still have the ability to special summon out the Vision Resonator from hand, which is why I added it to hand. So we'll bring out our Soul Resonator along with the Synchron. We don't get the search because of Droll, as we'll go into our Hot Red, use the effect of the Synchron Resonator along with the Scar in order to get the body, along with the recursion of the Crimson. We'll then special summon out the Vision, go into our Bane, use the effect of Bane tributing off the Soul, as we'll be able to get back the Scar, and now we can end our turn on this. So it's nothing great, but at the same time you are playing around one card that really hurts your deck, and being able to put up a board like this is still nice so that you just don't auto lose. Now for this next one, we'll be playing around 2 hand traps this time around with Ash and Imperm. We also have the Diabellstar stuff, so we're going to normal summon the Soul Resonator, and we're going to get hit with the Imperm, which means we'll have to leave it up to Diabellstar along with Vision, and we're going to use the effects of the Diabellstar along with Vision as Chainlink 1 and 2. We'll get ourselves the Sinful Spoil Trap, as we'll be able to get ourselves the Crimson Gaia. Crimson Gaia will then be able to get hit by the Ash Blossom, and now we're just going to go into the Baron, which is an option that you have here, as if you have other cards like Imperm yourself and another hand trap and stuff like that, you can still combat 4 cards that your opponent will have instead of the 6 that they would have had because they just used 2 hand traps. I would also like to point out that you don't even need to go into the Baron if you don't want to, as the Diabellstar also has the Sinful Spoils Trap if you happen to choose that approach. Now for this next one, this is a TCG version of it, and again, this shows that Nibiru is still a problem regardless, but it's still worth showing because it is a problem that the deck has, and and there is ways to circumvent completely losing, but it's not guaranteed either depending on your opponent's hand. So we're going to get our Red Rising Dragon, use the effect in order to bring back the Crimson. We'll then use the effect of the Crimson. Our opponent will use Ash, as we'll then have to be able to go into our level 8, use the effect of Lubellion. Lubellion will be able to get ourselves the Magna Hut, use the effect of the Magna Hut, as we'll be able to special summon it out, get ourselves the Search during the end phase, bring back the Lubellion. This is where we get hit by Nib, and unfortunately we're just hoping to have a token that survives along with the Red Dragon Archfiend, so it's just beater plus hand traps and prey at this point, but at the same time, sometimes having those beaters can be just enough for your opponent not to break the board, because some matchups really struggle against beaters if they don't have the correct hand. So for this next one, we'll be going against Ash Blossom again, and you'll see how this is just a hand that can easily play around it. When you play the version that I showed in the first video that was more catered towards the structure deck stuff, then you're going to struggle more against Ash, but I do want to show this in particular because it just shows that Ash isn't a problem whatsoever. So we're going to use the Sinful Spoils. That'll get hit by the Ash Blossom, and that's another cool thing where if you do play the Snake Eyes version, your opponent is going to be forced to Ash that, and then you can just Crimson Gaia, and this will allow you to get into your plays as you can get your Soul Resonator, normal summon that, use its effect in order to get yourself the Bone Archfiend, use the Bone Archfiend, which will allow you to use its effect, which will change the level of the Soul Resonator, as we'll be able to go into our Red Rising. So I ended the last replay short because we were just going to do the regular combo and I didn't want to waste your guys' times with that. But now I want to show a bonus replay where we actually just open the nuts. We have Crimson, Vision, Supe, and Diabellstar. This is where all the ideas kind of come into one. Your Resonators along with your special summons from the hand can really make it so that you have a much easier time to play around hand traps. And the fact that Diabellstar will be at 3, Supe will most likely be at 3, you just have the opportunities to do it so easily and so consistently. So we'll be able to get the Supe. I also didn't even mention the Horus stuff, but we'll use the effect of the Red Rising, get back the Crimson. We can then use the Crimson as we'll be able to special summon out the Soul and the Synchron. We'll then be able to use the effect of the Crimson, get ourselves the Bone, as we'll normal summon the Bone, use its effect, as we'll then be able to send the Vision. We're not going to use the effect of Vision because we have Vision in our hand and we can still chain block. So we're going to get the effect of the Synchron Resonator, get back the Vision, as we're going to get the effect of the Scar as well, bringing out the Red Dragon Archfiend, and then we can go into Bane, as we'll use the effect of Bane tributing itself for the Scar, as we'll then be able to special summon out the Vision. We're then going to set the Imperm so that we can go into our Void Ogre Dragon. We'll then be able to use the Diabellstar, empty our hand, as we'll be able to use the effects of the Vision Resonator and the Diabellstar now. And now we can get ourselves the Sinful Spoils trap, as we'll also be able to get ourselves the Crimson Gaia, activate the Crimson Gaia, and now we can use its effect in order to get ourselves the Red Zone. Now, the point of this is to show how big of a board you can make, while also having so many options to play around hand traps. So that's why I didn't do this hand against hand traps, but rather just wanted to show the full potential that this deck has when built in a way to not depend on your normal summon. Now, for this next portion of the video, I'm not going to bother going over the card by card and stuff like that for the different deck lists. I just want to go over some of the ideas and different approaches that you can take when building this deck. And the first thing that I want to do is go over the TCG version. And the most important part in this is the bumped up Resonator count with the 3 Vision Resonator and the Supe, of course, so that you can discard it. We also have the Bystials, which are another way to extend. If you don't want to play the Wild Wind and want to play 3 Bone, you can do that as well. Something nice about this deck is also the flexibility of something like Crimson Gaia. You can play it at 3 because it is a 1-card starter, but it's also easily searchable by the Vision Resonator that you can discard off of Supe, which makes it something that you can easily manipulate your numbers with. So if you want to play 1 or 2 of it, depending on how you construct your list, that's definitely doable. It also allows you to play more going second cards if only playing 9 outside of the Bystials is something that worries you. That said, If you want a more in-depth look at the pure version of the deck that's available in the TCG right now outside of the Supe, which I featured in this video, I will leave a link down below to the video I made based on just the structure deck version of this deck. So with that, I'll take you on to the next one. So this is the one that I least recommend, and it's because of hands where you can just clog with your Snake Eyes stuff and your Resonator or Archfiend, and hands can just be kind of weird. That said, as you saw with the Diabellstar being a great card in this deck because of the discard ability and the chain block with the vision, which you can bump up to 3 if you want to play around with the ratio. Again, these are just meant for different ideas and things that you can do, but I also want to read over the new Snake Eye, the green one. I don't know if it's dark or orc, I can't see, but if this card is normal or special summoned, you can target one of your level 1 fire monsters that is banished or in your graveyard. Either add it to your hand or special summon it. You can send this card and one other face-up card you control to the graveyard. Special summon one Snake Eye monster from your hand or deck, except Orc. You can only use each effective Orc once per turn. The cool thing about the Snake Eye stuff is the fact that you get this recurable engine that allows you to play through other hand traps like Ash with the Sinful Spoil spell that you get access to. But again, with the level 8, the Flame Burge, I think it's called, being something that you have to wait until your turn on, I just don't think it's something for this particular deck, but it's still something that I wanted to throw in the video for those actually interested in trying it out themselves. Finally, we have the most interesting one in my opinion, and the MSD can be a few things here. If you don't want to play the Horus stuff, you can theoretically maybe play Tour Guide plus Rhino Warrior, as you do get access to putting Soul Resonator into the graveyard off of the Rhino, which is kind of funny. That said, it does eat up your normal summon, which conflicts with your Resonator, and sometimes even when you have to normal summon the Bone Archfiend, which is worth noting, but it is something that requires a response from your opponent, as they won't really know what they're playing against when you normal summon the Tour Guide, unless they've already seen your deck, in which that case it becomes something that you can easily side out. And talking about siding, something that you have to be careful about is cards that banish from your graveyard. As you saw, Shifter is a problem for this deck, as you do have a lot of graveyard stuff that you want to go through, with the Red Rising being a card and stuff like that. You also have your Vision Resonator along with the Crimson that you want to revive off of the Red Rising, which makes me believe the Crossout will become a staple over time. Then there is also the ability to play something like more going second cards, or even a small bestial lineup of yourself if you're fine with just playing the Diabellstar plus the Supe engine, as that can be enough as well. But the most important thing is to focus on your high count of discard monsters that can get your Resonators into the graveyard so that you can pop off any other way without having to fall too hard into a hand trap that stops your Resonator plays and hits this stuff instead. But with all of that said, for everyone who's made it this far, I'd like to thank you for watching and for the 600 plus subs. I truly appreciate your support, and now that we've monetized the channel, giving us access to supers and memberships means that more awesome stuff is on the horizon. To get the channel membership, just click on the description below, and there will be a link that takes you there. You'll also notice a free Discord link that I've made for us too. If you want to support me as a content creator, even if you can't donate supers or get a membership for the channel, clicking on those thumbs up and subscribe buttons help a lot too. For those wondering, I do plan on making updates to the channel as the support on the channel grows. Anyways, I hope to see you on the next one. It's Bones, signing out.